And I work for the Carpenter Carpenter Hospice in Burlington, Ontario. And this video will just quickly talk about the Compassionate City Charter, which is an international charter, as well as a tool that we use when going out to talk with potentially new stakeholders to try and explain to them what the Compassionate City Charter is. So the first website that I have pulled up here is the Public Health Palliative Care International website. So this is the international organization who released the abstract at their 4th international conference in the UK back in May 2014. So this is a great website, lots of resources, especially if you're not quite sure how public health and palliative care work together. Another thing as well is the next international conference is coming up, and actually it'll be in Ottawa, Canada, if you're interested in attending. The next video that I wanted to bring up, just again in case you needed a little bit more information, is off of YouTube obviously, and it's with Dr. Alan Kelleher, and he's the gentleman who has created the charter itself. So this is a great video if you're just looking for some more information. Lastly, there is this public health palliative care document. So this is the document where you can find information, more information about the charter itself. And it's a really good document. It has lots of information in the aspects of pitfalls, things you need to think about when you are doing a charter, as well as great suggestions. And again, just has a lot of information to try and help you understand the charter better. So on page 72 is the charter itself, so it's a bit more detailed. And certainly this is the piece you really want to work from all the time. Gives you some good information about it gives you more details on the charter basically. And then on 73 is the last page, which just has the final. So the charter itself is 13 social aims. One of them itself is to reevaluate. So these are the social aims that we're talking about here. So in Burlington at the Carpenter Hospice, what we did is we created a tool called the 3C Factsheet. And what we've done on the first page is just condensed the charter a little bit, like just in the aspect, picked out what we thought was the really key pieces that we needed to convey to new stakeholders, because often enough they don't understand it, and we will have to visit them 3 times before they kind of understand, okay, now I get it, and all right, now I know how I can get involved. So what we did is we put our logo at the top, obviously, and then just some information about how Compassionate City Charter should be embraced, what it means for a community. And it's basically saying that it recognizes all natural cycles of sickness and health, birth and death, love and loss. And then it's every day within people's natural orbit. So in the aspects of just meaning where you go to work, where your kids go to school, maybe when you go to the library, or you are walking to the art gallery, or you pick up the paper and there's an article in the paper. So that kind of idea. What we want it to be is it's everywhere. Any place that someone could interact, basically. And then the other piece itself is that the residents within that city or community understand that love and loss during crisis is not just a health professional's job, it's everybody's job. That means your neighbor, grocery store, pharmacy, who knows, but it's everybody's job. It's not just that doctor or that nurse or what have you. So again, here's the 12 social changes. So as you can tell, it's a bit condensed compared to the document that we were just looking at. And the first 4, or certainly the first 3, are about those formalized places that you go, schools, workplaces, if you're in a trade union. And then here you start to get into a bit more of this, certainly with the churches and temples, or faith communities as we call them. That's the place where a community group and where someone will spend, a fair amount of time in their life, right? And then moving down, a lot of it is about demystifying death, getting people comfortable about it, making sure people are aware of resources, things like that. So again, putting something in the paper, having an art exhibit, having something at the library, something at the museum. So it's that kind of idea, having an award for the most compassionate person in your city or community. So it's getting that information out there, as well as working with the city to make sure that you recognize, or that the city maybe can have kind of like what we call a lens. So when they're looking at things or looking at new projects, well, how does that fit with this palliative care idea that we're thinking about? What can we do, or how can we tweak it to make sure we include that group? Certainly working with multicultural, homeless and imprisoned, and then, as I mentioned, the last one, which is establishing a review. So, certainly picking out your outcome measures, and then figuring out how you're going to track that, and then as well as doing an annual review, and then look at, okay, here's what we've been doing. It's working. It's not working. Here are new gaps. How can we service those new gaps? So on to page 2. At the top, I just put some general statistics because, now the statistics may not apply to everyone. A community group, maybe not so much, but if you're out visiting a politician, if you're out visiting a medical staff, professional, they are interested in this stuff. So these stats are at a national level, provincial level, and then locally to my community, so to Burlington. And I always highlight the increase, basically. So it's saying from 2006 till 2011. Hopefully we should have some newer stats soon. Here's how much the increase was in the 65 plus population. And as well, Burlington also has a higher provincial than average of seniors, as well as seniors who live alone. So we also are very conscious of social isolation in Burlington. So, so just something interesting we've seen in the statistics. As well, there's cost of end-of-life care. So, for instance, how much it costs for you to die in a bed in the hospital, to die in a bed in long-term care, to die at a hospital in a bed, and then to die at home in your own bed. So moving on, we created 4 generic questions that we always work to answer. Now, what we do before we go out to that stakeholder is I really make sure I research them. For instance, politician, I really look into them, and then I fill these questions in based on that, so that I can see, okay, how would they be interested in the charter, and then I fill the questions in based on that. So the first one stays fairly the same all the time, and how does this tie into current plans? This is more of a national question, and we use a national document that was put out, and it, I think, had 12 aims, and 5th on the list was the creation of a caring community. How can this change palliative care? So here, certainly I highlight some of those pitfalls that are well documented. So that's, so I'll speak to that going, okay, here's the things that are documented. People aren't comfortable talking about death. People aren't comfortable advanced care planning, that kind of stuff. How does this relate to current agendas? You have to think, you could think nationally, you could think provincially. So for myself, for instance, here in Canada, we just legalized medical assistance in dying at the national level. So certainly we talk about that. And then it's being, it's in the works at the provincial level as well. So that can be one area that we may talk about that's a buzz right now. And then the last one is just how can you help Burlington achieve the charter? So how could you help whatever your city's name achieve the charter, right? And so, for instance, when I'm meeting with a new stakeholder, it could be if you maybe have something specifically, like you have a program, and you're thinking, okay, let's look at this program or what have you. But more than anything, it's really about saying there, how do you think you can participate? What do you think you can do? What programs do you already have working that can be tweaked or can add that lens of palliative care end of life? So, yeah, I just kind of plant that seed there about, the idea being that they can be involved. So we just need to figure out how. And then lastly, this is the document referencing for the document that I showed you that has the charter in a broader aspect, more information. And then this last one here is the way forward roadmap, which is the document up here in the first question. Then we post our website. This is Karen Candy, the executive director of the Carpenter, myself. Now this fact sheet is also Creative Commons licensed, so you do need to please reference us when you are using this fact sheet. So what we have done actually is we have posted this on our website. So this is the version that we've posted. That way you guys can change it. So anything that's in yellow, you can change yourself. And obviously the statistics, everything. So you'd be able to download this from our website just to make it easier, and you could change things yourself. Now I do understand that some people, in some areas you have very, very unique language around things, and so by all means, obviously, if this doesn't suit you, you could either email me and I could just send you a Word document that would give you that language, or that would give you the ability to make more changes language-wise, or I can make it myself if it's something small for you and send it along. So there is another video that is on YouTube, and it's about how to use the fact sheet. Just because in all the meetings that I've had over the last year and a bit, I've realized there's, three kind of clear patterns or groups that you interact with, and that you do very much have to change your language when interacting with them. So I do encourage you to check out that second video just so that you can get those thoughts that I've learned, through trial and error, as well as meeting and chatting with people within the field. Okay, thank you very much and have a good day.